is Robert. I brought you another game from the past, long way back, 1994. It was in the Bristol League Congress, and it was either round one or round two. My opponent was Anthony Smith, A.V.Smith was his initials, and it was a second round match, I think. This was a very strong tournament. I was nowhere near the highest rated player. My rating in this tournament would be, in today's ratings, 1765. My opponent was 1660, but that very same year, or the following time when the grades came out, he was around 1800, so he was quickly improving and he's become a good player. There are some really good players in this tournament. Paul Heaton, and he was around 1800. 1788, there was Roger Morgan from university, who was about 1855. Paul Brooks from Devon, who was he was playing for Thornbury at the time before he went to Devon, and he was about 1863. So there's a lot of strong players. This was one of the strongest Bristol majors I ever played in. There was other ones as well that I could tell you about who were really, really good, strong players. But this was a very competitive tournament, and I'm going to share with you afterwards in another video from the Bristol Chess Times magazine, who reported on the Congress, what was said by Andy Nichols, the player who was putting these games forward from the major tournament. Now we'll look at the game. 1994, 32 years ago. So I was about 41, I think, or no, maybe 39, 40. So I was a bit older than a lot of them there. But yeah, I remember this tournament so well, like it was only yesterday. So anyway, here we go. It's quite a long game, so I hope you enjoy it. Started off with, I played e4, and Anthony played knight f6. So he's invited me to play the Alekhine's against him, which I did. Alekhine's opening defense he's played with knight f6. So he's gone into d4. I played knight f3, d6, bishop c4, and c6. So he's happy to take double pawns if he so wishes. Knight c3. So he's taken a knight with the pawn. I've taken a knight on c3. So he played d5, attacking the bishop. Gone back to b3. Seemed like the best place to go. Could have gone back to e2, but that's a bit passive. So now he's pinning the knight because I didn't go back to e2. But it's not a problem. I just chase it away with h3. It's gone back to h5, g4, and bishop to g6. h4, knight d7, and e6. I played this deliberately to mess up his game a bit, so it really makes it interesting on how he plays it. So he took the pawn, he accepted the gambit, and then I attacked it with knight d, and he came in knight c5. So he's getting control of the e4 square, but he's also attacking the bishop. So I attacked the bishop, and he's gone back to f7 with the bishop. And I've come out to e2, now attacking that pawn on e6, queen d7. We've now got three pieces protecting that pawn, knight, queen and bishop, so it's pretty safe there. So I played d3, I'm getting good development from my pieces. He's got a bad bishop on f8, and his rook can't move either, so I'm not doing too bad for the pawn. Now he's pushed the pawn on. He's offering me the pawn back, but if I take it, I'll lose the g4 pawn. So I played knight to f5. That blocks that chance of taking that pawn and gives me a chance of taking the e-pawn. So he's pushed it on. So he's gone to e4. Now I brought my bishop out, so now all my pieces are out. I'm doing well with the rapid development. Bishop f4. So I've got a lot to make up, but I have got the development. So he's now played e6, attacking the knight. I've gone back to g3. Pawn takes pawn on d3. Pawn takes pawn on d3. Now he's played bishop d6. He's looking now to trade off pieces because he's got those extra pawns. Oh, he's one pawn up. Bishop takes bishop. Queen takes bishop on d6. And now I'm hitting the knight on c5. If he takes my bishop, then I've got 3 connected pawns, and that's not so bad, which is what he did do. So it's a wide open game here. King d7. It's not choosing to castle, which is a bit risky when you've got queens on the board, but at the moment his king's pretty safe. So now I'm offering a queen swap, believe it or not. You shouldn't do this when you're material down, but when that pawn's in there, it's very hard to make advances and things because it's a pawn it's hard to get at. So queen takes queen, pawn takes queen. Now I've gone queen d2. c5. Yeah, he played a5, and now he's played c5. Rook a4. b5. I was ready for this because I want to switch my rook across to f4, where I can attack the bishop. And he's played rook f8, and then I brought the other rook across to hold up the pawns on the queen side. So in 3 moves, I managed to activate both rooks. It's gone king e7. Knight to d that rook in case he plays bishop back to e8. So he's pushed the pawn on to g6. Wants to swap these off, which I did. And I took the rook and took it with his king. And now I'm mixing it up with him. He's already a pawn up, but this is good for me because he should push on to a4. But he didn't. He went c takes b, which was a mistake, I think. C takes b, and now he pushed the pawn on. That's it. But my knight comes into d4, and this is a good opportunity for me to get my pawn back now, because I'm hitting both the b pawn and the e pawn on e6. He chose to defend the one on e6, which he felt was more important. I would agree with that. So he's gone king e7, and I've taken the pawn on b5. So he's attacked it with the rook on b8. And what I did was I knew I could go back to d4. And should he take the pawn on b4, I've got knight c6 check. Picks up the rook with a fork. So we're 4 pawns each. We're back level. And yeah, so I'm doing okay. So I pushed the pawn on. Now I'm giving him this pawn because I want to get his a pawn. So once those 2 off out of the way, then we're much better. So he took that pawn. I took it with the knight. He took the knight with the rook. And then I took his a pawn. So it's 3 against 3. Should be a draw, I would say. But I've got 3 connected pawns to his 2 and 1 other. So he's got 2 islander pawns, I got 1. Now he's moved his king to f7, and I've checked him because this gives me a great opportunity to get my rook in on f6 and be forever attacking that e pawn on e6. So rook check. He's moved his king over to g7. He should surely have gone back to e7. I think he's concerned that I might be able to go rook to f6 and then h6, attacking that h pawn, and that's why he did it. So I've gone straight in with my rook on to f6, attacking the e pawn, which he now has to defend. Now I've played f4. This is good. Rook b2, king c3, attacking the rook. Now he's probably going to go over and tap my g pawn, which he does. And I just push that one on. So all the pawns are connected. And I'll watch out for his pass pawn on d5 and make sure that never gets to be a queen. Rook to f2, king to d4, rook to f1, king to c5. This is looking very good now, as I can come around the corner and win this e pawn on e6, and then that weakens the passed d pawn. Now he's checked me. Of course, this shouldn't be a problem here with king d6. So he's pushing now with his pawn. He's trying to race home with that pawn before I can do anything. So I took the pawn on e6, and this was a mistake. I think, because maybe he's got rook check on c6. I moved the king in to, well, maybe not, I don't know. Moved the king into f5. Rook takes rook. I can go d takes rook on f6, and then when he moves his king, then I can move my king back to e4 and pick up that pawn, and I have 3 pawns against 1. So who knows what would happen if that happened. So he didn't go for it anyway. What he did was he pushed the pawn again. He's racing for all he's worth there. So I check him on f7. He goes to g6, and then I decided if I check him and he takes my g pawn, I can push on again. I'm only 2 squares away from queening myself. So he took that pawn, and then I played rook to d7, hitting the pawn on d3, and he checked me, and I played king into d5. Now it's gone back down to c2, and I pushed my pawn to f6. So it's looking good for me. As long as I don't let him get that queen, should be okay. So then he pushed to he pushed the pawn on. That looks pretty good. Let's have a look what happened next. I went king to e6 now, to get out of the way of the rook, so the rook can watch that pawn, and he checked me. And here it's interesting. I played king into f7. Now I just looked and I thought, oops, what if he goes rook to c7? I can't take that pawn. He gets the queen. But I'm going to show you what happens, because it was at this point Anthony resigned. He thought he was lost. He didn't realise he could play rook c7. It's tragic for him. Very fortunate for me. But yeah, it would have been a draw, I think. They've got at least a draw. But unfortunately, I think with his clock running out as well, that was another factor. He was a long way behind on time near the end. And normally he's a quick player, but there was so much to think about in that last game. He got in a bit of time trouble, and I think he didn't have time to realise he could have played that move. There, rook to c7. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game. a long game, I know, but it was a very exciting game at the time. It was it was all over the place, pieces flying around and pawns everywhere. But it was a good game. I remember it, and he was a nice lad, Anthony. He played for Cosham Chess Club, who I joined about a year or two later. And he's a nice lad, very nice lad. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back with you again pretty soon. So thanks, bye.